Aloha friends, this is Tito for the LoliNation blog coming to you on this edition of Marvelous Mondays. And yes, it is marvelous indeed again as we are about to start off the week. As you can see, I have brought it back inside. It was just a bit too cold. Truth be told, the camera actually froze in one of the shoots that I did last week. Nonetheless, here we are back in Montreal at -15, and we want to talk to you through the fourth value towards a prodigious attitude. Now, before I do that, for those of you who are subscribing to my newsletter, did you do the 2 steps, the 2 activities that I've recommended for you to do to help you get on a continued progress to realizing your worthy goals, which is what we define as success? For those of you who are not received those 2 steps, please ensure that you subscribe to the right of your screen over here, right of your screen, and make sure that you can get the inside look to the incremental steps that you take on the subject we talk about here on this blog. So without further ado, let's go into the fourth value towards a prodigious attitude. Before we go into the fourth value, let's review the first 3 that we talked about. The first one was discipline. Discipline is doing the things that you have to do when you least want to do them. The second one is integrity. Integrity is being truthful to yourself, first and foremost, knowing what you stand for. And last week we talked about perseverance. Perseverance is the capacity, the speed of you getting up once you have faced a failure or you've made a mistake, your ability to get up as fast as you can. That is what we're talking about. So those are the first 3, D, I, and P. Now we're going to add the fourth one. And the fourth one I really like because it completes the 4 first one, which I call the mental dips. I've talked about it before. It's dips. D, I, P, and C for dips. And C stands for courage. Courage is your ability to confront the fears that you face. Courage is your ability to do the things that need to be done. And to talk about this, I'm going to share with you one of my favorite prayers. That prayer, it goes like this. God, give me the serenity to accept the things that I cannot change, the courage to change the things that I can, and the wisdom to know the difference. The courage to change the things that I can. Now, when you think about courage, who comes into your mind? Who in your heart and mind brings the word courage? Do the things that you can when you can change it, when it affects you. Sometimes do you put your head into the sand? Do you avoid situations which you know you can actually affect change and significantly take someone's life or your life forward, progressively towards the realization of your worthy goals? When you think of courage, who comes to mind? For me, it's my parents. Those are the first person. To have moved from a country where they were well settled, back in Thailand, where we had a good life, and move into Canada, where they did not know anyone, where they did not have a job. I still remember to this day the first time my dad brought us to Canada, and he was going to buy the first meal. And in taking into account the exchange rate, he found out that for the same price that he could buy the meal for our family back in Thailand, because it was less expensive, was the cost of 1 hamburger. So that first night, we shared a hamburger. 1 hamburger. I don't even know if it's a cheeseburger. But to believe in it so much that you have to change, although it brings you all these risks, this fear, but you know that it's right to do, that's courage. And then also my in-laws who have moved from Cambodia, who went through the war. Courage to know. My father-in-law was out here in Montreal, not knowing if his family, his wife, and his kids were still alive back in Cambodia. But that he waited, that he stood back and had the courage to believe and continue to build a life so that they could come here in Canada and live a better life. Of course, when you think of courage, you also think about the individuals who have significantly changed the face of this world. First that comes to mind is Gandhi. The courage to truly affect what's around him because of what he believed without shedding a single ounce of blood. Now, there was violence, but there was no war. Think about that. When you think of courage, what comes to my mind also is Nelson Mandela. In reading his book, A Long Walk to the Journey of Freedom, you realize the sacrifices he had to make for what he believed in. That's the thing we must realize as achievers, as champions, is that when you go after something you believe, right? Might it be for a great family, might it be for a fantastic career, might it be for building a great organization, it takes courage. It takes courage to face the naysayers. It takes courage to look down fear in the eye and confront it and squash it down and squish it, to push it back, to open the light of belief and faith, and to push back the darkness of fear, of risk, of ridicule. It takes courage, and that courage is a strength. So that's what I call the mental dips. D-I-P-C. Dips. You do dips when you do physical education to actually strengthen out your triceps. You do those dips. But you also have to do your mental dips. Practice and practice and practice. Discipline, integrity, perseverance, and courage. So how do you do that? How do you confront fear? What do you need to do? There's actually one step today that I'm going to refer you to. Only one homework. It's to click a link on this blog. It actually takes back to a previous post that I had, which talks about how to confront fear. The one 4-letter word that we should all confront. Not avoid, but confront. So there you go, folks. Courage, the fourth value towards a prodigious attitude. I hope you enjoyed this post, and as usual, if you have, please ensure you share it, put it on your Facebook, like it, share this message, and hopefully it will reach out and touch someone as well as help them out. I'm going to end it up by saying, you know it's coming. You know, what you did in the past made you who you are here today. It's what you are today. Who you read, who you met, what you read, who you met, the situation you're in, the experience you've had, made you here you are here today. You cannot change the past. You must accept it. However, what you can change the direction of your future. You can change what you learn today. Most importantly, not only what you learn, but what you start doing today with what you learn. You can change, and that will define who you become tomorrow. This is Tito for the LoliNation blog. Looking forward to coming to you next week. Until next time, aloha, mahalo, and to your prodigious success.